Wait, give me a minute. Don't let me start yet. Let me get the dog in the house and then.
You gonna bring Amad Diallo on Sunday or Bruno Fernandez?
You
I mean,
people in it.
Olivia gonna bring him. Carlos, you on mute now? Talking about VAR, that gonna take long as hell. Olivia said you need something more different than that.
Not just that, but it's also I feel like
Overworked.
it's overdone. There's a lot more you could talk about. Everybody just don't let VAR until you need it to get you a goal. That's pretty much what VAR is.
Mm.
No, listen. That's where VAR is in England. The English and football are behind the ball when it comes to actually video assistant refereeing. They're behind it because most sports have already accepted it and it's not an issue anymore. But football, well, English football is still backwards in that regard. The richest club, the richest league, but backward.
All right,
Anyway,
all right, guys.
Shins End Boots, the football show.
Thank you. The best online football show you've probably never heard about, but you heard about it now. The Shins and Boots Football Show. We're on Sports BB and we're on YouTube. And of course, you would have seen at the beginning new things, new logo, everything. We got some really big things coming up. You can email the show at shinsandboots@gmail.com. We can be found on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. And what we are doing this time out, we have a segment with fans. So the first victim is a Manchester United fan. We know how Manchester United is doing right now. So Olivia Guinness is being kind enough to come on, courageous that she is, to talk about the team she loves. And of course, before we get to that, of course, you would have heard the news. Of course, Carlos is up there in the corner in his Arsenal shirt. He should have come bareback. I don't know why. That's why we wear a red shirt. You should have come bareback. Don't be many thought. Chelsea went to Champions League. How much have you gone? None. Anyhow, moving on. So top yes. Let me hear you. Bridesmaids Extreme. The Bridesmaids Extreme. Anyway, I'm down in the bottom corner there. You see Olivia smiling as sweetly as ever. Hold up the shirt. Short. No, shirt. Be proud, man. There you go. But first thing before we're gonna start on a very, I would say sad note, but yeah, sad note. Keith Griffith passed away recently. I had the pleasure of speaking with him. Very knowledgeable, and you was. So what will happen? You will see the link. We did an interview with him. At least one of the last interviews we did with him. So you guys are going on YouTube and you can find that. You can comment on it too. What do you remember most about Keith? Before we move on, give a little tribute of sorts. Start with Carlos.
Actually, the first time I actually encountered him, I saw him on CBC was years ago. I forgot which World Cup. He was an analyst for the World Cup. And his wealth of knowledge of the sport was actually quite impressive. And every time I hear him speak about football, I always want to actually listen because he had a lot of knowledge, especially for someone who is basically local, yeah. And the fact that he gained so much knowledge and a lot of the stuff he said was actually quite true, and he actually helped to educate me from just watching that because I actually would instead of watching the analysts for the overseas analysts for the World Cup, I actually watch him on CBC. So I actually like to hear him talk about it. Like it was actually quite, yeah. It's actually quite sad to hear he passed, man. Rest in peace.
All right. So Olivia, what do you remember most about Keith?
I think his voice. Even when I was listening to his last interview, I was like, no matter where he is, like if it was a group of commentators talking, you always know his voice was very unique. And as Carlos mentioned, he's also very knowledgeable. That's one thing I can say. He can pull fast. I remember when I first started interacting with him back in that was 2018. The knowledge that he was able to pull about events that sometimes 10, 20 years ago was amazing. I mean, I can't pull events from 10, 20 years ago, right? So I'm not even pretending. But yeah.
Right. So as I said, you guys could check out the interview on YouTube. Just go on our Shins and Boots page and you'll probably see it. Now, as I said, the first thing we want to do is we want to continue, as I said, be interviewing fans. And our, shall I say, guest host, Olivia, will be proud enough to be the first fan to hold some licks. Because that's what it's all about. And if you don't have to ask who you support, we see the shirt right there. Carla's going to be smiling. Anyhow. How did the love for Manchester United begin? This is Olivia.
Um, this is back in Sir Alex Ferguson days. I think I first started watching back in I think it was like maybe 2008. But what I fell in love with was that he had this ability to get players that were little known and then they came from really tough backgrounds and convinced them that they can be world stars and did it immaculately. And you really don't appreciate it until he left when the same team that he had previously, the year before he had run the Premier League with, could not even do the same thing again. It really made you understand how talented he was at getting these young players and showing them like you could do it, you could go there, you could beat that guy. So yeah, that's how I fell in love with Manchester United. His ability to get young players and turn them into world beaters.
I can see Carlos itching to say something. What do you want to say, Carlos?
No. I would actually agree. He was a real coach. Is what
Yeah.
English football pundits or people analyze spoke. Or he's a manager.
Yeah, he was an excellent manager. I mean,
Yeah, that's what he was.
It's something that United is missing now, and I think the new coach is bringing back is that the club is bigger than any player because he threw a boot at David Beckham and then packed him off to Real Madrid. Like he didn't care, and at that point, David Beckham was the biggest football star in the world. So I like that because when he needed to protect the players, he did. And then when players were thought they were too bigger than the club, he was like,
You have gotten them down. It's true. Because I remember there was one instance I can remember. Not David Beckham. It was David Beckham. Dwight York. He went to Cardiff with Brian Lara at the time. And they were supposed to play Leeds that same weekend. And what happened was when Dwight York came out, he dropped him to the bench and they beat Leeds 2-0. And he said in the press conference, well, you see, we can do without you, right? I mean, and the respect that he garners now, when you have a former player still referring to Alex Ferguson as boss, that is respect, in my opinion.
it is.
Because it's respect. Now, what's your best memory of a Manchester United game, Olivia?
And the overhead kick by Wayne Rooney against Man City. That was a really good one. The volley from Van Persie, I think that was against Villa. No,
Yes, Aston Villa.
it was Villa.
To win the
That
championship.
that the fact that he came and his primary goal was to win the Premier League. Like he put the team on his back. He's like, I came here to win a trophy. I don't know what y'all doing, but I came here to win a trophy. So those two games for sure. There's another one. I don't think most people know about it, but we were playing City, and I think it was one of those games that we had to beat them. And Aguero had kicked. He attempted a goal from the halfway line, and we didn't have our primary goalkeeper. We had the backup. I think his name was Andres. And the save, I thought that was an excellent save for a goalkeeper. I think at that time he was like the third string goalkeeper. So like little moments like that, I thought was really good. Valencia playing a game with a fully closed black eye and then getting man in the match. Park, I think one of the most unsung heroes really at that time was Park. Park was amazing. He had an engine in him. He could run. So yeah, and I guess it sounds more like individual things, but the little players that outside of the big name ones like Rooney and stuff like that, there were a lot of individual moments where you're like, this is what Manchester United is about.
Do you have any favorite players, past or present?
I had, but autumn is disappointing me, so I don't have any more. I ain't got the time for that no more. I'm putting these players on pedestals, and then this shirt is a Rashford shirt, and right now if I had a see here, it was like use a waste of space. So I've gotten to the point now, if I get another Manchester United shirt, I don't think I'm gonna get one with a player. I'm trying not to like the players. Although Ahmed is making it hard, but I'm trying not to like the players.
All right. Now this is a fully loaded question, I guess. Carlos, you don't have any questions for her, do you?
I do actually.
All right, go ahead. Floor is
Yeah, I
yours.
want wait, as a fan, and of course as a serious Manchester United fan as you are, can you give me three things? And I'm going to give you the three categories: on the field, off the field, and in the boardroom that can actually help to get your club back to where it was, even close to when Sir Alex was there, even just after he left. Three things: on the
Board
field,
feel,
off the field, and the boardroom.
I think with the board, I can start at the head. I feel they need to stop letting managers come in and buy players to suit the manager and buy players to suit a system. That way, if the manager fails in the system, then you get another manager that suits that system. Because right now, what we have is we have a squad of players probably from four different managers, and there's a lot of them can't play in the new system. That's just the realism of it. Whereas you have Chelsea and Liverpool who have been consistent with their systems, so they can bring in players and players could fit into that system. So I think at a boardroom level, I would stop letting managers be the responsible for like picking players to suit their system and just have a system. Because right now, Anthony gone off to, I think he's on loan now.
He's
He
on
was a
loan, yeah.
waste of
He's on
space.
loan
The
today.
goalkeeper we got now, Onana, another waste of space. um, Casemiro should have never been bought. He was too old. The defender that came with him, he was also too old. Like there's certain things that we allow managers to do that should have never happened, but we wanted to give them the chance and give them the backing. And then you told me not to curse, so I can't say it. So the best I can say is we should have never done that on a boardroom level. That's why I would say that you need to have a system and that be the club system, and then you buy players to suit the system, not you buy players to suit the manager. So the manager knows what the system is. So he's used to that system, he trains in that system, and he will buy players to fit that particular system, not to fit him. When I would say off the field, I think the younger players, especially the ones that come through the academy, are too arrogant. They're not humble enough. Like take Rashford. Rashford knew exactly what he did when he got dropped from the squad, and then the next day he did an interview talking about he's ready for a change. He deserves not to be in the team right now. Because you can't say that you're homegrown, you can't say that you love the club and then do something like that. And then you're getting £400,000 a week. You can't do that, right? And then have an attitude. What you just can't. So I think off the field, what they're doing now that works. They're showing the players that you have to be a team player before you can be an individual star. And I'll look at him. I don't even think he realized that the people he surrounds himself with are a reflection of who he is as a footballer. Lingard playing off in Korea, I think, or something like that. Pogba, I think he knows start about playing after his little drug thing. Most Manchester United players that I think they're bigger than the club don't play for a team bigger than Manchester United. So I think that that's what we're doing good now off the field, where we're letting players know, you know what, you're not as big as you think you are. Yes, you may have came through the academy, but you're not as good as you think you are. And I think we also give the old players a little bit too much leeway because honestly, I liked Paul Scholes when he was player, but Paul Scholes as a commentator, I'd be like, you can shut up because what are you talking? Right? Other than you got like you've won trophies, some of the things he said, I'm like, you would not believe that this was a guy that was a player. The way he talks about players. So that's something I would say, like off the field that they're doing well or they're changing. On the field, I feel they give up the first goal too easy. I don't know, like maybe they need to start getting them some caffeine or Red Bull as soon as they come in, don't need tunnel or something, so they're like got jitteries and they're ready to go. Because I don't understand, like especially in a situation where I have a meeting or I not home, I look at the phone, okay, kick off. 5 minutes later, the goal can see. I'm like, like start right. And then another thing they do is that they will score a goal and then they concede. The concentration is not there. And once again, for a team that gets paid as well as they do, it shouldn't be happening. They remind me of the West Indies team back in the day when they were like the highest paid team, but the worst team on the planet. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. You can't be getting this sort of money when a week come and you all potty on the field because you can't see the goal. Fix it. Fix it.
I
But that,
agree.
yeah, those are three things. There's a little ramble, but those are three things.
That's funny.
I've been watching football for a very long time. I can cut in here a bit. And something that Olivia said about the younger players, I agree with you. Because I don't think a lot of these young players are that good for the prices they have them, the salaries they're paying them for.
Yeah,
And
it's problematic. Like even take a lot of these younger players are getting £10,000 when a week come. Like that's almost 30,000 wage in a week. Like imagine being 16 or 17 or even let me say 20 years old getting 30,000 wage when a week come. It's hard to stay motivated by the time you get to 25, right?
that's what
Or
that
even
was
23.
That's downfall. Because George, I don't know if you read George's best book.
No.
That was his downfall. He was a former player. He's really good. Trust me, he was good. And back then, fields were horrible. You had heavy boots. You had the heavy balls and so on.
Hmm.
And this guy was like a wizard. And he said that the thing that got him, he came from earning as a 17-year-old, and he was getting £17,000 a week in the 60s. £70,000 not ain't nothing. And the thing that brought out George best in the end, right? Drinks and women. Because he's 17 years old, you come in all this money, girls are gonna flock after you. Not for social media back then, of course. It come to the ground. And he was talking about how much women he had and then he was linked with a lot of different high profiles and it brought down his style of play.
Mm.
So now you got a situation now when the balls when Rooney came around, it kind of changed the employee into the employer because you ever say called player power?
Hmm.
That was what started all of that. The balls from Rooney, but we were going to that another thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let me make a fundamental point about that. I've been watching football for a long time. I've been watching sports in general for a long time. So let me tell you what all that entails. And unfortunately, I'll be very frank, European high profile sports, they have not taken into consideration a lot of things for the players themselves. When it comes to American high profile sports, NBA, NFLs, actually have programs for the young players, especially when they come into the professional ranks, to teach them certain things, how to spend their money, what to do, what not to do. Hell, they even tell them where to go, what not to go, when not to go, and stuff like that, and how it impacts on them, and how it impacts on the team and even the community. Because I was even listening to this talk show that I listen to every morning from England called the station called Talksport, and a guy he hosts a show and he actually used to own Crystal Palace. And there was a player on there. There was a player on there, a former player, because the radio station is made up of the host of mostly former players. They were saying that the clubs need to develop a program to help the younger players to adjust to being a professional, adjust to having the money and stuff like that. And he was saying, as a former owner of a club, saying things like, "Why should the club do that? Why do the club need to do that? They don't need to do that. That's something a player should develop on their own." And that is actually not true. If you think of the player as a whole, as a brand ambassador for your league, for your club first and your league second, then you will put certain things in place to help them in those regards. And that's what the bigger leagues in the United States have done, all the professionals have done for their younger players. And it has actually, they never had it before, but for several years now they've had it, and they've actually helped the younger players to adjust to, of course, all this money, all this fame, and not to make the pitfalls that a lot of the other um, players before them have made. But anyway, so to actually just want to respond to one of the answers that Olivia gave about her team. Actually, I think that what your team needs is to the first thing about the boardroom, they literally need to have they don't have a buying strategy. And the reason why they don't have a buying strategy because they don't they might have a director of football operations, maybe they do, but they don't have a strategy that you can clearly see this is how we want to play and this is who we're going to buy based on how we want to play. Yeah. Now they brought in the new guy, and the new guy he wants to play a particular way. And I'm gonna be very frank with you a little bit. They see that style of play he playing, it's not gonna work in the Premier League. It's gonna get him fired. Last man that played that, he won a Champions League after that. With that, after that, and that's your man Tuchel at Chelsea. And he played that formation. He played that. And one of the primary reasons why he played it because that one of the formations that used to give City a lot of trouble. But that formation he's playing, for him to find players to play in that formation in the Premier League over extended period is going to be a lot of trouble. Currently, he does not have the players. And unfortunately, as you rightly said, he has other managers' players. Yeah?
Not
And if
only
you have
that,
other managers,
individuals and their players real high too.
I
Because
mean,
if a
the
guy,
salaries,
because if a guy shift from Sir Rashford go to somewhere like Dortmund,
the reason why Rashford can't move because Rashford's salary is too
Yeah,
high.
for
you
Dartmouth,
think
his salary is 400,000
he's
a week.
not gonna take a pay cut. He isn't.
He isn't.
Right. So
He can't
so
afford
that
to.
go, so that goes by to the buying strategy, and then of course trickles down to the negotiating strategy when they're buying players. You understand? They're buying players, and I think in some cases they're buying names, not actual players. They bought Casemiro because of what he did with Real, but Casemiro was on his way out and on his way down. They bought him for ridiculous money for his age and paid him a ridiculous wage for his age, and going to bring him to a fast, more physical
He was a
Premier League.
commercial boy.
Yes. And bring it to a faster, more physical Premier League than what he was used to in Spain and expect him to do what he did. That was going to happen. If they bought him because of maybe his leadership qualities as a veteran guy who's won things, I can understand that. But he didn't show that either because right now, Manchester United, unlike Manchester United, all is bereft of any leadership. You understand? Unfortunately, they expect the leadership to come from the coach, but it needs to come from the coach off the field and on the training ground, and from the more experienced players in the locker room and on the field, and they're bereft of that. So Amorim has a big task on his hands because he's playing with Ten Hag's players. Yeah, Ten Hag brought half of the damn Dutch league into the Premier League. I know what was wrong with him, and the board signed off on that madness. He bought a guy to play defense who couldn't start at Bayern, who was being worked off the field by a man who couldn't start at Tottenham. And they went and bought him. So that's my point. He went and bought the lit. Then he went
It was
for
just for
Onana.
the boys. He
And he
bought
went and bought
most of his
Onana.
players were Ajax players, and Ajax players, Ajax players. Ajax is not on the same level as any Ajax players. They're not on the level of.
But you're right, though. Ajax is Ajax.
Yeah, but they pronounce it Ajax.
Oh, you know.
But
and then,
he should have never been allowed to buy the players that he did, especially at the prices that he bought them at. I think that
he
was
should
a
have
big problem.
they should have allowed him to present the board with a strategy of how you want to play and why these players fit your
BFL transfer
strategy
market
and style.
then?
No. Huh? No.
The BFL
No.
transfer market
Okay.
then?
When Arsenal hired Arteta wanted to play a particular way. But it was very clear that how he wanted to play, we didn't have the players for that. The only people that survived the art at the start must be about 2 or 3 players. Everybody else is gone. Right? They're gone. He made that full sweep. Chelsea, right? Seemed like they had a mad strategy, but that mad strategy is actually working for them. No. Chelsea's like a year and a half or maybe 2 years ahead of their schedule in terms of how they're going to get back to the top of the Premier League. They have a strategy. It looked maddy, but it worked. Because here what? Chelsea can actually start a whole new 11 when they play in Europe. They don't have to put none of the Premier League players to play, right? When they play cup games, they can start guys that can they have a bench or a reserve that can start for half of the teams in the Premier League. Yeah, I like, but see, but that's a strategy. But unfortunately, you guys have not shown well we got strategy. Because Manchester United is still thinking that they're the Manchester United of Alex Ferguson's time. They are not. They need to start
That is the
rebuilding. And
problem right
they
there.
should have started rebuilding. They should have started building
That's
5
one of the
years
main
ago.
problems they have. They live in our past glory. And fans are thinking that, okay, Ferguson era down. Because I still think that David Moyes got a hard ride. I still think so. Because
Why? Why?
He's been ratio band and half of them guys are bringing. Look
His
back
buying
his
ratio?
Moyes when ratio was really good. But he didn't get a chance.
I
They
don't think
actually
he was
chased him out
ready
the
for
club.
that level of management because he came from Everton to manage Manchester United. They should have, and I know Sir Alex Ferguson picked him because he thought he had the potential and he was hoping to give him the chance that he had. I understand the whole sub story, but it wasn't the right move. Those players at that time, you can't ask a manager who's used to playing in the managing a team that when they go to big teams they naturally defend to come and manage players that when they go to big teams they want to decimate them. And he brought that negative mindset with him because he was not used to managing players of that caliber. So I feel like he was almost set up to fail. And then when they actually brought in managers that were at the caliber that they needed, they at that point the players had too much, as we mentioned, player power. So the managers were also failed because players could have walked into or message a board member and complain. Should never happen. Players should never be able to, or their agent should never be able to message a board member and complain about the manager. You're an employee.
Yeah. All right. More of our content. Just remember to go on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Our email address is shinsandboots@gmail.com. And don't forget, like, subscribe, and share. And don't forget, it's your show, the fan show. It's the Shins and Boots show, the football show.
Shins End Boots. The Football Show.